Hey YouTube, it's Wasim again, back with another Roblox scripting tutorial. And today we're going to be talking about, we're going to cover more of the operators. We went over a few in the previous tutorial. And we're also going to talk about a concept called operator precedence and associativity. So I'm going to go over to my tutorial 2 script, which I've already set up a bit. So before we start, I want to talk about one concept in scripting. It's called comments. So sometimes when we're writing code, we want to leave a comment about the code we're writing. And this, when you write a comment, it doesn't run. The computer doesn't run a comment. It's just for you. It's for your own use. Like you're just leaving a note saying, oh, hey, this line, this piece of code does this, maybe for you or maybe other people. Maybe if you're working on a team, you want other people to understand a piece of code you wrote and why you wrote it that way, that sort of thing. So to write a comment, there's different ways of doing it, but I'll first show you how to write a one-line comment. You put double dash and then you write, So now with a one-line comment, only the text on that line is commented out. So if I go to the next line, you can see that it's not green. And when it's not greened out, that indicates that, it's actual code that will run. So what if you want to do a multi-line comment? Because it'll be annoying to have to keep, adding dash dash prior to each line. So to do so, you can simply add a double square brackets, and then you finish with double closing square brackets, and that will delimit the comment. So when the computer comes along and then it sees this, it's like, okay, you're about to start a multi-line comment, and then you can type it out, and then once you're done, you close off with double square brackets, and that's how it will know that you are finished writing the comment. And comments do not run, as I said before. They're just there for your own use. And as you can see, I've already added a multi-line comment about the sort of stuff I'm going to be talking about in this tutorial. Before I start, I should say I pulled this table you see here from the Lua website, and it's not my own. But anyways, let's get right into it. So what is operator precedence and associativity? So operator precedence is the order in which operations happen when we have operators chained together. So in math, you might be familiar with the concept of PEMDAS. You might have learned this in grade school. PEMDAS is an acronym for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, addition, subtraction. Basically in math, when you have a chain of operations, it determines like in what order those operations happen. So if I have 3 plus 5 times 2, what happens first? Is it 3 plus 5 and then, that times 2? Or is it 5 times 2 and that plus 3, right? PEMDAS is the rule by which we figure out which operations take precedence over others, take priority over others. So we have a similar concept in Lua programming or programming in general, but it's just more operators, because in programming we're usually dealing with more operators than we have in mathematics. But anyways, it's a same concept. So in this specific case, our precedence table tells us that multiplication has precedence over addition because multiplication is above addition. And so, multiplication and division for that matter. And so that's telling us that 5 times 2 will happen first, it'll get 10, and then that'll be added to 3. So if I run this, we get 13, as you expect. Now, there's also the concept of associativity, and associativity says, okay, well, if you have the same operator chained, together, then in this case it's just addition, chains of addition, then what order do they happen? Well, sometimes it doesn't even matter, because in the case of addition, it doesn't matter what order you add things, add numbers in, you're still going to get the same result, because addition is just associative. If I do 5 plus 10 and then I do 5 and then the result of that plus 3 and then add 30, it'll get me the same thing as any other order I do these additions in. But for certain operators, it does matter. But I should say that even though it doesn't matter order, the order that Lua will choose to do it in is left associative, right? So almost all the operators, binary operators, are left associative. And I'll get into like what does it mean for an operator to be a binary operator later. But so that means that we'll do the addition from left to right. So we'll do 3 plus 5 first, 8 plus 10, 18, and then add that to 30, 48. And so for certain operators, it does matter the order in which you do the operations. So for example, there's the exponentiation operator, and that's for exponents. So as it says here, exponentiation is right associative. So that means that it'll start from the right and then go to the left. So it'll do 3 squared first, which will be 9, and that will get you 9, and it'll do 2 to the 9th, right? And if we check to see, we get 512, right? So I'm assuming 2 to the 9th is 512. But if we were to do it the opposite way, it would be 64. But no, we get 512, and we get 512 because it's starting from right and then going left. Now, as you can see here, the parentheses operator has precedence over any other. So if we use parentheses around an operator, that operation will happen first prior to any others. So if I put parentheses around 2 cubed, now we will get 64, because the parentheses will happen, whatever is inside the parentheses will evaluate first prior to any other operations. And we get 64. And I should also say that associativity doesn't only apply when you have, the same operator chained together. It's when you have operators of the same precedence chained together. For example, multiplication and division have the same precedence. And so it's like, okay, what will happen first? Well, associativity tells us that these operators are left associative, so that would mean that we would go from left to right. So the multiplication will happen. You'll get 15, and then you do 15 times 8, which is 120, and then you do 120 divided by 3, which is 40, and then so 40 times 1 is 40. So we should get 40 when we run this. And yes, we get 40. And you can apply this to any line here where we have operators on the same level. They will all have the same, associativity, either left associative or right associative. I would like to consider a more complex example. So in the previous tutorial, I believe we had an expression similar to this, and I didn't really clarify the order in which these operations happen. But looking at the precedence table tells us that the addition will happen first prior to the double equals operation. Remember, the double equals operation checks to see if the right side of that operator evaluates the same thing as the left side of the operator. So in this case, since plus happens first, we'll get it'll do 3 plus 5, which is 8, and then compare, and then do the double equals comparison to see if they both sides evaluate the same thing. But the left side is something different, like 10 divided by 2 plus 3, right? Then it will still because so you have to look at the precedence table, right? The first thing that happens here is division, right? So it'll evaluate the division. 10 divided by 2 is 5, right? And then after is the plus. So but it'll do 3 plus 5 here, which is 8, and it'll do 5 plus 3 here, which is also 8. And then it would compare the two, and then they should be equal. If I run this, and that's true because they are equal. I also very quickly want to talk about the concept of unary versus binary operators, and it's quite a simple explanation. So unary means 1, binary means 2. So a unary operator is an operator which only has one operand, or it only operates on one value, right? So for example, -3 here, this negative, the operation of negating a number to make it negative, that is an operation, right? And then but it only operates on a single number, namely the 3, right? This is in contrast to binary operators, which take 2 operands. So this addition is operating on 2 values and putting them together, right? So if we have an expression such as this, -3 plus 5, the first thing that happens is this negation of 3, which so it's just -3, and then plus 5, so it'll result in 2. So if I run this, and we get 2. If I put the negative on 5, then we get -2. We get -2. And there's other examples of unary operators. Another example of a unary operator is I don't know what this operator is called, but I'll just call it the hash operator. And this hash operator is an operation you do on strings, but since it's a unary operator, that means that it only operates on one string, right? So you just simply put the hash prior to the string, and what this does is it gets you the number of characters in that string. So for example, hello world has how many characters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it should output 11, and we see 11. I will leave it here for today. If you have comments, post them down below. If you like the video, like it, and I will see you in the next tutorial.